AITA for telling my friend her kid is a demon? 27F, I am currently having complications with a friend that we will call Karen, 28F, for this situation. So some context on the situation is I have a lot of kids, and I mean a lot, 3 weeks from due date currently. I'm also typically our friend group's trusted babysitter when anybody has something come up with their daycare. So I'm pretty used to an array of different personalities when it comes to kids in my everyday life. Myself and this friend have two very different parenting styles. I'm more communicative and personally don't believe in corporal punishment, as redirection/explanations make more sense to me. She is more of the southern style of raise her voice. If you don't hear her the first time, you're gonna feel her hand on the second. That being said, I have finally came to the conclusion of I just can't watch her oldest kid anymore. I don't think I've ever met a more angry child before in my life, and I'm by no means blaming the child for his temperament, but it's just not something that I can personally handle anymore. He doesn't follow any sort of directions, even simple ones, without lashing out violently. He goes out of his way to physically hurt anything without any warning, and I mean anything. The cat, any child, big kid, adult, the freaking houseplants. The scary part is he always laughs and then follows up with name-calling, swearing, or a lovely shrieking sound that would put any coyote to shame. I know this is really messed up to say, but it's like a rerun of the orphan movie IRL when dealing with this kid. Yesterday he walked up to me asking for a snack, and before I could even lift my head from washing dishes he slapped me as hard as he could. It took everything in me to keep from crying because that would obviously freak out my littlest babies in the house. I put him in my spare room, time out, away from the other kids so I could not only take a breath, but reduce the amount of damage that he was currently doing in that moment. Mind you, the situation is completely foreign to me because I can't even count how many kids I've watched over the years, and I've never found myself afraid of a kid. After the incident I called Karen and told her she needed to immediately come get her son and make other arrangements for him, but I could handle her youngest still to help her save money. She went on to say he's really not that bad and she doesn't think it's fair that I've never said I wouldn't watch anyone else's kids. After months of having patience, I finally snapped and said, well, none of our other friends have kids that act like a literal demon. I asked her if he really wasn't that bad, then he had slapped me in the face, and why was he currently tearing apart my spare bedroom? If he was so easy to handle, then why do I have to constantly be in fear that he's gonna hurt not just me but another child in my care? She said she couldn't leave work and I needed to learn how to better manage the kids in my care. I was honestly so shocked and frustrated that I got on Facebook and messaged the father of her kids to come get them, even though I know it wasn't his day. I tried to call her again to let her know he was coming to get them, but she wouldn't answer her phone for myself or him. At 8 p.m. that night, 4 hours after she was supposed to be off, she showed up at my house looking for her kids. I told her they were with their father and her son's behavior has been reported to Dad. Now she's saying I potentially ruined her court case for primary custody because Dad had to pick up the kids and realized she was MIA with no idea that he even had the kids for hours. I told her it wasn't my fault and she had 2 breaks she could have called either of us back on, but chose not to. So Reddit, AITA? Update. So do I have a wild ride for you guys? A ton has happened in the last week and some change, so I'm going to TLDR most of it. Dad got emergency custody the following morning after spending the night getting an emergency mental health evaluation at our local hospital. They kept the kid for 3 days and we took that time to help Dad get his house ready for primary parenting. The lawyer went my Karen's place on Monday for the unexpected home visit, and to put it bluntly, there was a lot more going on than any of us realized. The kids' belongings were placed in a pile beside the couch where the kids have apparently been sleeping for the last month. One of the 5 bedrooms in her house is completely unlivable, and the 3 rooms outside of her own are being subleased to strangers. Yes, you're reading that right, she took away her children's rooms and put strangers in there. They also documented smells of burning plastic and urine throughout the household, and there is no pets in the home. She was directed to submit a drug test, and as of now she still has not done that. I am absolutely mortified of the conditions those babies have been living in for months without any of us in the friend group realizing. It also makes sense because she stopped hosting get-togethers shortly after her separation, and we all just assumed she was taking time for herself. Now the icing on the cake, a lot of you warned me that she would likely try to lash out toward me, and you were right because she absolutely did. She tried to call social services claiming that I had an illegal daycare running in my home. Well, of course a social worker did show up, but thankfully the situation was clarified within the same day. I explained that 5 of the kids in my house were my own biological kids and the 2 others I was watching for my cousin without personal pay. Gave them receipts and my last couple bank statements as proof, and should be getting a letter within the next week closing the case as unfounded. They have a hearing Friday to establish custody, and the lawyer has already said it will go to Dad. Karen will get supervised visitation if she petitions for it. If anything changes or something else crazy happens, I'll definitely be updating again, but thank you guys. Addition info. Clarification on Karen's husband's lawyer who went to my house and if the agencies will get involved. No, it's the kid's lawyer. Guardians ad litem or something like that is the proper term. But it's basically a person who represents the children from a neutral standpoint. As far as I know, social services will be getting involved because the dad does want to pursue neglect charges, but the dad did receive emergency custody, which means the concerns of a brief foster stay have been eliminated. Edit 2. I didn't personally contact DSS because in my area they are infamous for opening and closing a case without actually doing a thorough home visit. They will talk to you in your driveway, and as long as you bring the kids out and they lay eyes on them, it's good enough, and they will close the case. I'm not exactly sure what the kid said in the hospital that got the emergency order granted, but it was enough for an emergency judge to both grant a child lawyer and custody to dad overnight. Edit 3. On what I know so far after the dad got involved with getting the kids away from Karen. Dad can't tell me exactly what the boys said at the hospital, but it's definitely a tip of the iceberg situation. We're all anxiously waiting for tomorrow, so hopefully he can give us an update after court. He has a written statement from me that I got notarized on Tuesday, but I made sure to add I would be open to coming to court to answer any other questions. After talking with a few of the girls last night, we're not really worried about how court will go tomorrow, we're more worried about if the judge is going to give her a period of time to get herself together. I mean, all of this stuff came out by sheer luck. What if she figures out how to cover her tracks better in the next 90 days? Edit 4. Why a lot of things have been done so much in a short time. Yes! This whole situation has taken place over roughly the last week, with the main things occurring Monday afternoon and Tuesday morning. When emergency custody is given in my state, they typically try to get an official hearing within 7 days, so Friday will be the official custody hearing with the child lawyer's input.